Hello, my name is Chastity Robinson, and I'm a student in the Occupational Therapy Department at the University of South Alabama. Today, my classmate Cynthia Dreyer and I are going to be administering the Minnesota Spatial Relations Test. The Minnesota Spatial Relations Test is an individually administered test that is used by persons in educational, industrial, and business organizations. This test measures both accuracy and speed in the discrimination of three-dimensional geometric shapes. This test assesses spatial visualization acuity. Users will find this test especially helpful in the evaluation of students or employee performance in courses or jobs that require accurate perception of spatial relations and the rapid manipulation of three-dimensional objects. The population for this test includes employee and selection placement, vocational rehab and training, aptitude assessment for technical courses, and general occupational counseling and guidance. Familiarity with the test materials and careful preliminary planning are needed to administer this test. Physical setting. This test should be administered in a room that is relatively free from noise and other distractions. Only the examiner and the examinee should be in the room. Adequate ventilation, lighting, and temperature are important and should be checked prior to testing. A testing do not disturb sign should be placed outside the door. Approximately 10 to 20 minutes are needed to administer this test. It is important that the schedule allow for sufficient time for the examiner to administer the test in a relaxed and unhurried manner. One trial per board should be given only. There are no practice trials that should be administered with this test. Testing materials include boards A, B, C, and D, the recording form, the manual, a stopwatch, a square table, and a chair. This manual has standardized instructions that should be given verbatim to the examinee. Before starting the testing session, establish a positive, friendly relationship with the examinee. This can be done with a brief introductory conversation. Administer the test with the examinee in a standing position, slightly bent over the table. Only the examinee's preferred hand should be used for the test. The non-preferred hand should be in a supportive position, such as resting comfortably on a table, at their side, or behind their back. It is recommended that boards A, B, and C and D be administered to attain the most reliable assessment. Use a stopwatch to determine the number of seconds it takes the examinee to complete each board. Begin timing immediately after saying "ready, go," and continue until the last block has been placed correctly. Record the time on the recording form to the nearest 0.2 of a second. Please take note of the handling special instructions given in the manual. The first instruction states, the first time the examinee spends an excessive amount of time, at least 60 seconds, working on any one block, say, set the block aside and come back to it when you're through working with the others. If the examinee spends an excessive amount of time with the other blocks, do not repeat this instruction. Number 2 states, if the examinee does not place a block completely in the cutout, say, push the block all the way in. Do not count as an error or discontinue timing. The third instruction, if the examinee finds that the last block does not fit in the remaining cutout, say, now look for the block that is in the wrong place and change it.
At the start of the testing session, board A without the blocks is placed in front of the examinee, flush with the edge of the table. Board B containing the blocks will then be next to board A as shown in this picture. As soon as the examinee has moved all the blocks from board B to board A, the position of the boards is reversed. When the examinee has moved the blocks from board A to board B, those two boards are removed from the table. Boards B and D are then placed on the table so that the board with C without the blocks is in front of the examinee, flush with the edge of the table. Board D, containing the blocks, will then be next to board C. As student as the examinee has moved the blocks from board D to board C, the position of the two boards is reversed. When the examinee has moved the blocks from board C to board D, the testing is complete.
Today, Kristen is playing the role of an individual taking the test for employee selection and placement.
Hi, my name is Cynthia, an occupational therapy student. How are you doing today?
Good.
Alright, today we're going to be doing the Minnesota Spatial Relations test, and what you're going to do is remove the blocks from this board, one at a time, and put them into their proper place on this board. They fit easily, so do not force them. You may have to turn some of the blocks around, but do not turn any of them over. Keep the yellow side of the blocks up. If you cannot find the right place for a block, set it aside, try another one, and then come back to it later. Use only one hand. Your other hand should be placed on the table like this, or wherever you find it comfortable. Work as fast as you can, and put all the blocks into the board. Do you have any questions?
No.
Alright? Ready? Go. When I say go, work as fast as you can to put all the blocks into this board. Remember, use only one hand and keep the yellow side of the blocks up. You ready? Go. Rest for a few minutes while I get the other boards ready. Now, just as you did before, work as fast as you can to put the blocks in their proper places onto this board. Use only one hand and keep the yellow side of the blocks. Ready? Blocks up. Ready? Go. Now, work as fast as you can to put all the blocks into this board. Remember, only use one hand and keep the yellow side of the blocks up. Ready?
Yeah.
Go. For each error the examinee makes, make a tally mark in the appropriate box on the record form. The following are errors. If the examinee tries to push a block into a cutout of the wrong shape, the examinee places a block into a cutout of the same shape but larger than the block, and if the examinee places a block in the correct cutout and then removing the block. It is not an error when the examinee holds a block over an incorrect cutout without actually touching the board.
Now we shall review how to score your assessment. On board A, it took Kristen 3 minutes, 16.8 seconds to finish the board. Now you have to convert your time from minutes to seconds. If you're unsure how to convert this, so you want to double check your work, there's a convenient conversion table on the back of the recording form. You'd find your minutes, and you would cross-reference it with the number of seconds across the top. It's 3 minutes, 16 seconds. You have 196 seconds, and then you add in your tenths. So we have 196.8 seconds. You do the same thing with board B. Kristen took 3 minutes 12.7 seconds to complete the board B, and converting that minutes into seconds, she has 192.7 seconds. And then you add your seconds for boards A and B and get your sum. Follow suit with board C and board D with converting your minutes into seconds. Once you've done that, you take your second sum and refer to table 1 to get your standard score. After you found your standard score, you refer to table 2 to get your percentile rank based off of the particular group that you're trying to assess. In our example, we're assessing the vocational and technical group. Make note that after you convert your minutes into seconds for each board, you add your sums together for boards A and B and C and D, and you have a total sum at the bottom. As well, so in addition, you also refer to table 1 to get your standard score for the sum of all 4 boards. And refer to table 2 to get your percentile rank once again for all 4 boards. Now we're going to discuss error scores. On board A, Kristen made a total of 5 errors. You make your tally marks in the appropriate box, and then write the number in numeric fashion in the appropriate box. You follow suit with board B. You have your tallies, your official number, and then you add boards A and B together, the error scores for board A and B. Follow suit with board C and D. On board C, Kristen had a total of 8 errors, your tally and your number. On board D, she had a total of 5, tally, number. And then you add those up for board C and D, and you have your sum. And again, just as with your time scores, you add the sums of board A and B and the error sum for board C and D to get a total sum at the bottom. Refer to tables 3, 4, and 5 to get your percentile ranks for your error scores for A and B, C and D, and all 4 boards. Now that scoring is complete, we'll do a brief interpretation of what we found. So for the administration of boards A, B, C, and D, Kristen received a percentile rank of 40. This means that 40% of the individuals in the norm group received lower standard scores than she, and 60% of the individuals in the norm group received higher standard scores. In error scores, Kristen received a percentile rank of 35. Once again, this is for boards A, B, C, and D together. This means that 35 of the individuals in the norm group received lower error scores than Kristen did, and 65% of the individuals in the norm group received higher error scores.